looks like. Welcome, guys. Sorry, again, Skype, we're new to this. We're trying to figure it out. When I say we, it's mostly me. I'm trying to figure this out. But looks like we got a full squad here today. We have Rabbit. You want to say what's up, Rabbit?
What's up, guys?
Y'all know Rabbit. Well, most y'all know Rabbit. Furky, he is the Packers and ASL or NSL. Who are you in NSL, man? I forget.
NSL, I'm the Packers.
Oh,
In ASL, I'm the Rams.
The Rams, okay. So he's one of our NSL representatives in ASL. Diego, you want to say what's up?
What's up, guys?
Yeah, he is the Ravens in NSL and the Jaguars in ASL. Then we got, let's see who else is here. Coach, he is not talking right now, it looks like, but he's here.
What's up?
Oh, what's up, Coach? Coach has recently took over ASL over, I don't know if any of y'all knew this, but he is the new main commissioner in ASL. Before we get started, Coach, you want to say any words about your new reign as Emperor of ASL?
Nah, I don't expect much to change. Yeah, everything's gonna remain the same, guys. I wouldn't expect any changes at all. Hello, everybody. Put a face to a name, I guess. I'm the Broncos in ASL and the Lions in NSL.
Okay, sounds good, buddy. And now we're getting to people who are just in one league. Looks like Taylor, he is the Cardinals in NSL. He got called up last year. So this is your first year starting NSL, starting out. How are you feeling about the team?
It's brutal.
It's brutal?
It's a brutal team. It's going to be rough.
I think with the retirement of Andrew Luck, you might get an X Factor and Pat P coming up, though.
I could use anything I could get.
How do you like Tyler so far?
What does that have to do with anything? Why does Andrew Luck's retirement already be an X Factor?
They only made 50 X Factors. That was their whole number, or there's 50. So they're only giving one more if they take one away. So it's going to be 50 total.
I
So
wouldn't
that's
be
why.
surprised if they don't give it to him because his whole suspension. They kind of did the same thing with Tyreek. I would think Tyreek or Chris Jones have a better shot at it.
I don't know. Jamal Adams is deserving too, but I think Patrick Peterson, out of everybody, is the most. He should get it the most. He's the best. Kind of suspension.
His team needs it too.
All right, now we got two. All right, well we got two ASL first timers in here. 89, you've been in ASL. Actually, you've both been in ASL since last year, so I'm not. You guys aren't fully new, but neither one of you been on the podcast. 89, you want to say something about yourself? You're a huge Chiefs fan. Apparently, you live in a gun range. What else is about you?
I've been in since Madden 18, like season 2 or 3. Like I said, Chiefs fan. I'm excited for this year. Should be fun.
All right. Apparently, you also run diesel engines out of your basement.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with my Echo.
Oh, okay. And Hiroki, first timer. You joined the beginning of last year. I actually work with Hiroki, so he is another Frito layer. Looking for his first W in a league game, though. What's up, Hiroki?
What's up? Hopefully I get it this year.
How you feeling about your Eagles starting out? You kind of took over a team last year.
Yeah, I kind of took over the Eagles from Hawaiian Buddha, and he completely, I wouldn't say messed up the team, but it was definitely different from the real life Eagles. I'm glad to be able to start off with the team and be able to change up how I want to. I'm glad they added the superstar abilities for the O-line.
I'm sure you are.
Yeah, he got Eagles are just loaded at O-line, apparently. All right. So I think is there anybody I didn't introduce?
That nostrils is not a good look right there. You might want to change that view for first time.
That better?
Hiroki loves straight up the nose. That's his view. Straight up the nose.
Check, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hey, if that's what Hiroki wants to show us, he can show us. All right, so I think I got all 8 of y'all, right? All right, welcome to the chat. I know the introductions took a little while because there's 8 of y'all, but Um, this chat's going to be about building your franchise. So first things first, real quick. Obviously Zetavel, I can't give y'all 10 minutes of pop, but we'd be here for hours. But real quick, what's your way of building to a team? We'll start with coach draft. Well, just a quick strategy. What's your strategy for building? Draft, trades, building.
I think each team, personally, I think each team's got to be different. You got to build around some of the pieces you have, see what you're missing. Some of the teams that got a lot more holes than others, you just got to kind of pick your poison. Last year, I would say you really had to go through the draft. This year, with all the new traits and how things are going, I'm not quite sure yet. Don't have enough under my belt, but I would say trading and free agency is going to probably be my approach this year. Whether it's right or wrong, we'll find out.
Okay. Rabbit, you usually like to build a team. I think you drafted a lot last year. What's your approach? And it worked for you.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest guy that's going out there for the big names and trades and stuff like that occasionally here and there, but normally it's going to be drafting. If you need a quarterback right out the gate, that's what you got to focus on. And if not, O-line. And then when all else fails, draft a little baby Gronk. He'll lead you to the promised land. So.
All right. Taylor, I believe your strategy is to load up on first 90 overall quarterbacks. Is that correct?
Yeah, so my strategy this year is going to be a lot different than before. I used to like to draft people. Just playing through this year, that's not going to work. You want to hold on to your older good players this year. You want to keep anyone with an ability you can. And if you lose those players and try and draft, you're going to ruin your team really quick in this game.
Well, we always try and build so some of these veterans stay. But I don't know if I mentioned, I did a lot of studying today. I think our strategy is going to go through. We're going to use the franchise guys' rosters. His draft rosters are very close to Madden's rosters ratings-wise. So I plan on probably using him with some changes. He doesn't have as many people on there as I'd like to have, so I'm going to add some people. So we're probably going to use this for 2 seasons. And then the last 2 seasons, we're going to go just a Madden random and, divvy it up to y'all. So it's going to be given to y'all again this year. I know some people, 89 in particular, wanted it to be completely random. But I think we're going to go with this for at least this year again. And besides, some people, I had a lot of people had enjoyment out of getting some of the real players in there. So we'll probably do that again. Just if anything, we'll see how it goes again this year. It wasn't a huge failure last year. It wasn't what we wanted it to be, but I still don't like the way scouting is. And there's still options for people to go out there and just, brute force the draft. So that's what we're going to go this year. Diego, you have a unique strategy, I'd say. What's your team building team? Just draft 5 running quarterbacks?
Well, what's funny is that when I'm playing with the Jaguars and I need, I can't find an open guy, I just seem to go run a little bit with Foles, which is kind of crazy. But contrary to probably believe, lately I've been throwing a lot with Lamar, actually, quite a lot. And I just played a game against I forgot who it was, Hurley, and I only ran like maybe 10 times. I threw like 28 with Foles, and I just want to get the throwing better. If I don't throw picks, I'm okay. But as far as building the franchise team, I just want to build a team. I don't need or really want to go after like high price players or the big names and stuff. Even though I gotta tell you that Denver defense with Chubbs and Bond, that's crazy, man. Every time I gotta play that team, it's absolutely crazy because they're on top of you. And if you double team, which works great, but if you double team Bond and then Chubbs gets in there in a heartbeat. So you gotta really be very attentive to all that. So I think I'll just be drafting. I really want to win, guys. Okay, I've been here for quite a while now, and the bottom line is, to be very blunt, I want to win. I want to make the playoffs a few times at least. That's all. If I get there, I'll be happy with that.
All right. Let's see. Let's go Verky next. You, I believe you go through the draft. You're a Packers fan. You like to keep that team together for the most part. What's your strategy?
Yeah, the Packers. I I'm not gonna move many people. And the Rams, I got two pretty good teams. I don't think I'm gonna have to do much other than just free agent and draft. I don't working out trades is 90% of the time it's just a headache, in my opinion. Don't play with who I got. You work for 2 hours to try to figure something out, then somebody's like, "Nah, I'm good." And I'm just like, "Oh well, yeah, fuck you." And I'll get him in free agency.
All right. My strategy, I think most people have known, is usually to retain my own talent and then trade away depth for, get a bunch of depth up, then trade it away for some superstar that's aging that I can afford. Don't know if that's going to work this year with the contracts the way they are, so we'll see. But my team, I'm a Vikings fan, so I'm going to stick with what I can and maybe draft a quarterback to replace Cousins eventually with his 86 throw power. Chiefs, you built the Chiefs up here. You're the Chiefs today. So what is your thought here, Ori?
Draft and develop, and then same thing. If acquire enough depth, then trade it for either a starting caliber player or picks to draft again.
Okay. Hiroki, you're new. What's going to be your strategy? This is your first year with the team from the rip. What's going to be your strategy? How are you going to build your team?
So one thing I've noticed was a lot of my good like high 80, low 90 overall players are at the regression age, including y'all's fixing the regression past like 32 and whatnot. So like I know I'm gonna need to develop my younger talent for when like Lane Johnson, Kelsey, and all the other O linemen retire in probably a couple years. So I think my first focus for the first probably 2 seasons is probably going to be draft a lot of the younger O linemen and try to just get them to develop. And hopefully, if I'm winning some games, I'll be able to put them in fourth quarter or whatnot. But I think first steps to develop the O line just because I'm going to lose them in 2 or 3 years because they're going to retire or whatnot.
Yeah. Well, we do fix linemen, all offensive linemen, until they're 34. So you got a little bit along with them. But I think you guys are still old enough to hit the regression. So,
Yeah.
Oliver, what's up, buddy? Oliver, you here, buddy? It says you're in the call. You just joined. No.
I am here.
Oh, what's up? Why don't you go ahead and you haven't been here since last year, Oliver? You're pretty much a success story from ASL. You joined ASL. We played like the second week after you joined. I think I remember commenting to Rabbit that it was probably the least acceptable game I have ever played in our leagues. And but again, we gave you some feedback. You took it. You ended up getting called, changing it so quickly that you ended up getting called up within like a season of that, which is a huge turnaround from playing one game where like I can't deal this to all right, this dude's worth a call up so quickly. So why don't you go ahead and say a little bit what team you are in ASL? And sounds like the baby that made you drop out of NSL.
That is it. Yeah, that's her right there. I'm gonna be the Chargers, who are stacked. So I was gonna be the Lions, but the Chargers opened up, and I didn't want any part of Matthew Stafford and no edge rushers. So I got Nick Bosa, even though I put a Joey Bosa gif in the group chat. But I don't know. It's probably just building offensive line and then replacing Philip Rivers' old ass. But we'll see how it goes. Everything else is pretty much stacked. I have a halfback.
So you got Joey.
What's that?
I said you said that backwards. You got Joey and you put Nick in the chat.
Oh, see, look at that. I don't even know who's on my team.
He has a Bosa. That's all he cares
Take
about.
him. He can move,
All right.
They're all the same.
All right, so I'm not going to ask everybody one question going forward. We got too many of you on the chat. I'm going to ask who I think is the best to answer the questions going forward. Salary cap implications. Rabbit, me and you had to deal with this a lot last year. Getting under your 53. What is your advice for everybody to stay under cap and still get 53 going into the next season?
You gotta take a look at who's going to be coming up in next year or 2 years. You can't think about this year. No, I got $40 million. I'm going to sign my, quarterback to a $50 million a year deal or something like that. You gotta look and see what's coming up open down the line because it will come back to bite you. And everything that I've seen so far this year, it's going to be even worse. So you got to make the right decisions because we're not going to be able to bail you out. If you get in a pinch and you've got to let 2 or 3 people go or cut a 90 plus overall player just because you can't afford it, you can't get to 53, then it's tough titty. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You got to pay attention to what's coming up down the road is the biggest thing. You can't just, I got to keep that one guy because he's got an X factor. Well, if you do that, you may end up with 60 and 70 overall linemen or something along those lines. So just reap what you sow.
Taylor, you did this. You were really good at controlling the cap, and you made some choices at quarterback that seemed questionable, but then you played them out, and it was pretty much managing the cap. What's your recommendation for managing the cap, and do you think it's going to be harder this year? Or?
Yeah, managing the cap is going to be a lot different than last year. People want more money. It's kind of more realistic. So you're just going to have to find the people who you think will be stars and hold on to them, but also don't be like, oh no, I only have a 66 overall O lineman because the majority of people are going to be around that. The ratings this year are a lot lower too. So just things to consider.
All right. Coach, you got any input on salary cap? You've been in here a few years. You've gotten the salary cap pretty down. You've never been in salary cap trouble. I think I've never had to help you in any sort of way, shape, or form. So what's your recommendation for the?
Ask questions. Everyone here is going to help you. Ask questions.
That's fair.
If you think you're going to make a big trade, it's going to be a blockbuster, and it's going to be the best deal of your life, there's probably a reason for that too. So ask someone. No one here, for the most part, if you ask a veteran here, no one's here is going to go try to steal your deal or worry about who you're getting or anything like that. So I wouldn't worry about that too much. Just ask someone, guys, and they'll give you the pros and cons of the cap. And if they don't know, they'll tell you they don't know. But for the most part, if you get it with any veteran, I think that'd be my number one advice to all you guys.
Okay, fair enough. Diego, you had cap trouble last year. You came to me. What's your? That seems like solid advice. I believe I helped you and Hiroki.
Yes.
I think. Diego, what's your experience with going over the cap? You learn anything? You're going to be better at it this year?
Yeah, well, remember I inherited that huge contract, remember?
Blacko?
With Flacco, yeah. So what I did was I just, I think I released him, right? Right away.
Yeah.
I let him
Well,
go
yeah.
and I just started Lamar. And after that, I wasn't in any trouble, actually. After that, I was okay. Once I released him, I didn't get into any trouble myself. I try not to overpay too much, Like I said, I prefer just to have I don't know why, just have a young team. I don't want to pay the superstars or anything because maybe I'm not good at using those superstars like I should be. So I just try to get some balance. At least this year, I want to get balance running and passing and a little balance everywhere. I just think I'm going to enjoy the game more with a little bit of everything as opposed to last year I was just running so much I was scared to pass the ball. So
Can't be scared to pass if you're going to win some games.
yeah.
Hiroki, you I know are going to be in cap trouble off the rip. You have already been simulating your first season, trying to see what your moves are going to make. You think you got a pretty good plan going into year one?
I'm still trying to figure that out because based on this season, which Eagles finished first in the division, and then we lose the first round of the playoffs, and the Browns end up beating the Bears 66-2 in the Super Bowl.
Sounds like a Madden score.
Yeah, and I ended up losing Derek Sproles and what's the other dude's name? I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but he's the left tackle for the Eagles. They both retired, and then I have
Jason
17.
Peters. Jason
and then,
Peters.
Peters, yeah, and then I have 19 players that I got to renegotiate contracts with. Some of them are my high 70, low 80 overalls, and a few of them are players that are a little bit older, like this Andrew Sendejo or whatever. He's a 75
Sendejo.
overall.
Ex-Viking Andrew Sendejo.
Sendejo. Yeah, he's like 32 years old, 75 overall, free safety. I'll probably let him go just because he's a normal development. I'll probably let this running back go just because he's like 29 and he's a 60 overall. So like, I have some wiggle room because like you told me at work, I'm going to draft 7 new people anyway, or about 7 new people in the draft, so I can let some of my lower overalls go to help save the salary cap. But I'm still trying to figure
Berkey,
out.
you have a $35 million a year quarterback. What is that going to hinder your abilities to improve your team, you think, or?
No. I always make it work. I don't know. I don't really get too deep into it. You know, free agency comes around, I don't got any money. Well, you run it with what you got. If I got 40 mil, I'm gonna make it rain. You know, I'm gonna try to get somebody that's gonna make a difference. But I mean, players play. I mean, you're not gonna get that many free agents out there. I don't think. From my experience, there's not that that game changing of a guy that comes out in the first 3 seasons that you need that much money, unless you're already in cap hell like Cowboys will be if Dak resigns and the Eagles.
Rams are going to be bad off here in a year or two.
Yeah, but I'll just cut some people. I don't care about the Rams. I'm just like the Packers. I'll care. Rams will just be like, oh, you make $20 million, bye.
It's a road.
It ain't gonna be Todd Gurley or Aaron Donald, but everybody else, I don't care. Jared Goff, see ya. Nah.
Jared Goff ain't getting paid with you, huh? All right, fair enough. Rabbit, you have had major success drafting quarterbacks. What's gonna be your? Are you gonna stick with Cam, or are you gonna move off of Cam? What's gonna be your strategy here going in an NSL?
It's just going to depend on what the money shakes out to. I hate that the 2 X factors that I have on offense are more or less cheesy. For Cam, I got to have 5 10+ yards, and with McCaffrey, I got to have 5 10+ catches. So I'll probably still ride with him, but if I have a rough year and there's a good pick there, that somebody I can develop, I may go that way. But
You're gonna have an 80 catch season with McCaffrey.
I mean, there's precedence there, so we'll see. I did. I think I was playing Marv or something last night, and he blew up. He had like 5 or 6 catches for 100+ yards because he broke a big one. But
Any plans of putting McCaffrey in the slot, maybe?
we'll see. Well, there's some of those 5 wide receiver sets where it's actually McCaffrey out on the end or lined up beside a tackle. So we'll see. And I gotta stick up for Diego. Everybody talking about how much he likes to run. When he laid the wood to me in the tournament, I think he maybe ran with Lamar once, twice. He was throwing dimes. So you may come in thinking he's gonna run it, but he's definitely improved passing the ball.
Oh well, that's the thing about Diego. If he can learn to pass, he's gonna be fine because then you have to respect Lamar's run and the pass. But
Yeah, I played a game against a friend, and he was using Lamar, and his boost and like takeaway speed behind the line is just ridiculous. It's too much.
yeah, I did the play action rollouts. I was just practicing with Mahomes and oh my, like Kirk. I try a rollout with Kirk. It's almost a guaranteed sack because as soon as the motion's finished, somebody's in his face. With Mahomes, I'm good. He's already on the pylons before they even realize it's a play action.
Right.
So Cam, Lamar, and Pat Mahomes are going to be really hard to stop on play action rollouts, and even behind the line, it's going to be hard to get those boys down. I believe Cam has something like where he
Russell,
shakes
too.
off. Russell too, and Cam shakes off the first sack. Right? Is that his X factor or is that a superstar?
I think that's his X factor. I can't remember off the top of my head, but
Yeah,
I think it is
something
X
like that.
factor.
It's
can't
only
even.
it's
imagine.
only DBs though, not D line.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Well, that's going to be rough. He already shakes off sacks, so
right.
going forward. So we'll see. How hard do you actually think it's going to be to build a team this year? Oscar, you're kind of back here in 20. Do you anticipate the stretched ratings causing a lot of problems? Maybe.
Oliver?
Yeah.
Oscar.
Oscar, I'm sorry.
Oliver.
How dare you?
Oliver.
Yeah, what's up?
Oliver.
That's Oliver. I was right.
What's
Did I say
up, Oscar? Yeah, you said Oscar.
Well, I'm just being racist.
Obviously. What was the question?
Do you think the stretched ratings are going to make it harder to build a team that competes?
Uh, Probably. I mean, I guess it depends on what area. I mean, there's such a difference, in offensive lineman ratings and defensive lineman ratings. I don't know. It depends on really what you have. I think in my shoes, I'm probably good. I just have so many, superstars on the team that I can focus on rebuilding one thing. But some people will have to rebuild all three phases, and that'll probably be pretty difficult because you're going to have to deal with 60s and 65s going against 80s and 90s.
Right. But those 65s are the new 75s, if that's any consolation. That's kind of what they've talked it up, is where they stretched out the ratings. Your upper 60s is more like your mid 70s from years past. So I think
it's going to take a little bit for me. Yeah, for my eyes to get used to it.
People are going to have to get comfortable with that, though. So they're like, you're going to see a 60 on the line and be like, oh, you're going to start panicking and try and overspend for a 70. That's probably not going to be that much better. Rabbit, what is the number one thing you've seen people do that's a mistake when building a team? Number one mistake you've seen?
Overpaying, name recognition, things like that. It rarely works out to sacrifice a draft or your cap space to go out and get that Khalil Mack or Pat Pete.
Russell Wilson.
Right, that too. And like I said, it rarely works. Sometimes it does, but usually that's your biggest mistake, that at least that I've seen, is people overpay or sell the farm to get somebody they really like, or to get a big name. That one superstar doesn't really help with the depth of 10 other positions you could have used with that money, or some of those picks. So.
Okay, Coach, what's your number one mistake you've seen? You've seen a lot of mistakes here.
I would say, honestly, grabbing that aging star. I've seen a lot of guys early on in the game pay first-round picks for some aging stars that probably didn't pan out the best for them.
That's fair. I've seen them even do it in free agency. Like, I'll see a 32-year-old wide receiver that's going to start declining super fast in Madden, and I've seen like 3 years, 21 million. Like, what are you doing, man? That's 20. You can get him for 1 year and 4, and you guys are. I don't care what his rating is right now. You look at his, he might be like Larry. He might be a 94. Then you look at his stats. It's like 84 acceleration, 82 speed, and like, where's he gonna go?
Right. I think another misconception, and I think someone said this earlier, but you don't have to spend all your money. Some people think, oh, well, I've got it, I might as well spend it. It's not quite worked that way with cap or how it's going to work this year. So it's okay to go into the off season with a little money in the bank.
I think the number one mistake people make personally is they don't plan for the next year. So they don't look at the next year's cap or anything like that. And a lot of people have players like Carson Wentz, for example, who is, if you go into the first season, he's still on his rookie deal. He's going to be making $500K. So you go and you're paying all these people stuff, but then you don't realize that he's going to be making $35K next season. So,
yeah, I'm stuck with him.
So I'll see people go into free agency and, like Coach said, they're going to blow every dime they have, not realizing that their quarterback's coming up. Their Travis Kelce's are coming up. I hate to keep using the Eagles or I'm just throwing out names I know are coming up. But their top players are coming up in a year or two, and they do no planning for it. And Bubba does this really badly. He doesn't even know what's happening. But So when they go on a free agency, and I think Bates did this last year, spent an insane amount of money in free agency, and then had to get rid of Matt Ryan because he couldn't afford him the next season because the payouts. So that would be my number one mistake I think I've seen is overpaying and not planning for the next season. Uh, if you got to let a 32-year-old walk this season to pay your quarterback next season, that sucks. But you do what you got to do. You can franchise him, keep him another year, and then let him go walk next year, or trade him or something, But
Another little piece of advice I think I would give is if you don't know what the penalty is or what it means, go look on your roster. Just go look at the roster itself, and on the side you see a penalty, and that's what they're asking for when you submit trades. And I've had some people ask me that question. So for those of you watching, that's where you can find it. It's in the roster page there, and you'll have a whole list of what the penalty is.
yeah, and Madden is a little weird with the way the penalty works, so I'm not sure people understand this. I think I explained it to Diego last year with Flacco, so he would understand. Flacco last year was a perfect example. He needed like 40 million over his last 3 seasons. Uh, Diego had an option of maintaining him 3 seasons and paying him the 20 million each, or he could cut him and he would still get the cap penalty of 20 million for season one. But the last 2 seasons, since Madden only goes out 1 year, both consolidate into the second year. So if you're cutting somebody that has more than 2 years left on their contract, the rest of the years after that second year all consolidate into your second year cap penalty. So Diego ended up having something like a $46 million cap penalty a second year, which I explained to him he was well aware of, but he paid that to get Flacco off his books. So make sure you're also aware of that, where that's so if somebody like Hiroki cut Carson Wentz, next year he would have a $60 million cap penalty on his books, and added on top of his thing, he just couldn't afford it. It wouldn't make sense. So just make sure you guys know that if you're cutting somebody or trading somebody with more than 2 years left on the contract, that second year is consolidating multiple year cap penalties.
Yeah, to piggyback off of you, July, I have it pulled up. Carson Wentz, he signed a 6-year contract. He's got 5 years remaining. It's just under 160 million a year. The 2020 he takes 18.7 off my salary cap, but the remaining years he takes about 32 to 34 million per year. If I were to release him, I lose. It says player release net savings negative 43.3 million, and my cap penalty would be 62 million.
Yeah, so that would be 20 million or something. So this year, and then 40 or more next year. So just wouldn't be worth the pain. But 89. What's some advice you have for building a roster? Like what coming up this year? You've played it a little bit. What do you have any advice going forward, man?
From all the simulations I've done in offlines, people are going to have to be a lot more comfortable letting their older players go. It kind of contradicts what I think it's Taylor said of retaining those people. Like in all my simulations I've done, I have to get rid of Sammy Watkins, Eric Fisher, and then I have to let Honey Badger walk when his deal runs up. So it's just a matter of being able to retain and kind of.
Well, you got to pay Patty.
Right.
So.
Well, and that's specific to me because I have to plan around Patrick's contract. But that's the thing is people have to like, okay, I'm going to lose these people in 2 or 3 years, so they need to develop their replacements in season 1 or season 2.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Taylor, he said your strategy's shit. Go ahead with your rebuttal.
When you have like a god team like the Chiefs, that is a shit strategy because you're not going to be able to re-sign all of those superstars. But when you have a team like the Arizona Cardinals and you have literally Patrick Peterson and Chandler Jones, if you get rid of those, you have a team full of 60s and 70 overall pieces of shit who can't do anything and let up 45 sacks a game. So,
I mean, that team is not as bad as you make it sound. They're not that bad. I have them in another league that's already running. I have 363s or some shit starting on my offensive line. If you're not trash at the game, which you're not, they're not that bad. They're not that bad.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and agree with Berkey there. They're not that bad. You got some.
You are making them sound like they belong to be playing Pop Warner, homie. You got Kyler Murray. You got
I have them in another league.
Hey, they're better than the Lions. I can promise you that.
They are better than the Lions. Kyler Murray is pretty lights out as a quarterback. You have 4 years. You're going to be able to pick up his 5th-year option. You're not paying a quarterback for our entire league. So
Yeah,
Murray
that's
can't hit a
the
fucking
difference.
out.
Yeah. The
Is
Lions
you
are
got
handicapped
cap
with
space for
Stafford's
days.
Oh man.
Matt
He
Stafford's
does quick.
contract just
You're right.
handicaps them.
Like every pass I do with Kyler Murray, it's inaccurate bullet pass, inaccurate or touch pass.
I haven't had that problem. I played 2 games with the Cardinals. One of them was against Coach. Kyler dotted him up.
I don't know. That's my experience, and then I'm averaging 5 fumbles a game with that team too. So
That might be true. Fair enough.
I would.
Right,
I was gonna say on that note, competitive mode is a lot worse with fumbles, and I found if you put the fumble slider to 70, which is what we do in our other leagues, that actually helps reduce the fumbles quite a bit.
We'll test those out. I think we're gonna start on default sliders on Sim, so we'll figure it out. Oh, you guys are on comp in your league, right?
Nah, we run sim in them.
Oh, okay.
All Madden sim.
I thought you were a huge All Pro guy.
We made the change. It does feel a lot better on all Madden this year. Defense
This year.
Defense is a lot more porous, so having your bums play a little bit better helps quite a bit because you're still going to give up 35, 40 points if you don't know what you're doing out there.
Yeah, well, true. I've been figuring out a little bit. I still think pass rush from the shit, like, I'm not gonna say shittier players, the non-X factors, the 80 to 90 range guys who might not have the superstar abilities but are still good pass rushers, like Daniil Hunter and Everson Griffin. Daniil's a 12 sack a year guy, and he just can't get any relief. I think that needs to be a little bit better, and Vaughn and JJ need to be toned down a little bit. I fully anticipate a 50 sack season from somebody, and I don't know what we can do as a league to stop it besides turning off X factors, but I don't think that's where we want to go. So,
Not yet, at least.
yeah,
Let's
Yeah, no, I
start.
agree.
Let's
Those
start.
we are running we're considering something. I want to roll this by you guys. We'll see how y'all feel about it here live in chat. Me and Rabbit has been discussing forcing people to put 85 or higher people that get traded on the trade block in our chat, obviously, for at least 24 hours to not kind of backdoor some of these trades. We'll go ahead and get thoughts on that. Coach, I already know you're targeting an 80 over 85 guy. I'm not going to say who it is or anything, but what are your thoughts on it? Do you think this is how do you feel about it?
I think it's great. It doesn't affect me one way or another, and I don't mind. You can tell everyone in the world who I was targeting. It doesn't really make a difference to me as far as that stuff is concerned.
So who's the coach?
Hunt from Cleveland.
Oh, nice.
So
He was targeting JJ Watt. Don't listen to him. I'm sorry.
so I don't know. I think it's a good idea. It'll help in certain areas, but then I think there's going to be certain avenues where that may not necessarily be into play, where a guy may not have been on the block, but he just got something that he felt was appropriate.
Yeah, I understand that too, but we also don't want people, and I'm actually probably one of the worst for this. I just send people like, hey, I want this guy. They're not necessarily, and just as like Coach said, they're not necessarily on the block, but I want them, and I'll just send them, hey, send me your best offer, send me something crazy for whoever you want, and and then it'll start from there, and I'll start talking. And I think I've gotten Patrick Peterson 1 or 2 times, and they haven't necessarily been on the trade block, and nobody else had any option to get Patrick Peterson. And so the idea behind this is to give everybody at least a shot to throw out an offer for a guy, But
and then I guess at that point, is it subject to the trade committee, right? Because the trade committee will then hear all those offers, I'm assuming.
no. You just have to listen to them all. We're not picking the best one. That what would happen is you would go on trade block, so whoever's trading them gets any offer for them. After 24 hours, you can submit whichever one you want, and then you just go for it from there.
Yeah,
So
I think it works.
it's just giving you option to get more offers than just two people behind the door for a 90 overall player.
It's not first come, first serve.
Yeah, but I feel like that takes away the sim, like actual NFL aspect of it. Like, it's not like, say the Chiefs were going to trade Tyreek, they wouldn't be like, all right, everybody, throw us your best offer. Somebody hits them up, and then they're like, oh, well, maybe we'll trade them. Not, well, let's see what everybody can offer.
I think
you have to be progressive. You have to want to make
it does.
In real life, in that instance,
it works the opposite. It works the opposite in real life. In real life, when you put someone on a trade block, the trade value goes down. It doesn't go up. Here, I think it would have the reverse effect.
Well, in real life, in that kind of example, like someone might inquire, kind of like how July said he's done in the past, like, hey, would you be open to moving Tyreek? This is what I could offer you. Some sports beat writer is going to put rumblings of trade rumors, and other teams are going to be like, hey, this is the rumor that I heard. Are you actually listening to offers? Because they're all in their know.
You never hear a guy get traded, and like other teams, just like, I had no knowledge about this. So I think, like you said, it might not be super public knowledge, but there's still backdoor rumblings. Like, you might call other teams that need a left tackle, for instance, with Trent Williams or whoever, and be like, hey, you need Trent Williams. Like, right now, Trent Williams not on the block, but they're still getting call after call about him. So it's just a thought going forward. Again, nothing rule. We're just going after it. Taylor, what's your thought on it?
Yeah, I don't care either way. I feel like it does kind of take away from some of like the sneaky GM part of it, but I mean, some people just aren't looking for trades, so maybe it'll motivate them to actually go and look for a good player.
Mm-hmm. Well, the key is, we hear a lot of people being like, I didn't even know that guy was for sale. Like, a trade will happen and be like, I didn't even know that guy was for sale. Yeah, I would have offered you more. And I'm like, well, So that's the thought. Burke, you don't seem to be a fan. Why don't you go ahead and give your feedback?
I mean, I feel like if you want that guy or you have interest in that guy, reach out and ask somebody. Why? I mean, right? Is that what we're in here for? Like, if you want to make a trade for somebody and you have interest in them, hit the guy up. What does it take? 30 seconds to type, hey man, will you trade Russell Wilson? I'm willing to pay. I don't know. Like, we have the Discord. Everybody is at your fingertips. Reach out and ask. I don't feel like you should have to be like, oh, all right, people, I'm going to trade Kirk Cousins. Is he over in 85? No.
Yep. He's in 81.
Sorry. No, I'm going to trade Aaron Rodgers. Everybody give me your offers. No. If somebody hit me up and they're like, hey, man, will you trade Rodgers? Be like, what's your offer? That's going to be who I'm going to go, like, who I'm going to try to deal with first. Even if somebody else comes in and is like, hey, I heard you're trading Rodgers. Unless they're offering me something crazy, I'm going to try to make the deal with the first person, because it was kind of, I don't know. That's just me, I guess.
It could be cool if it was like an optional thing, like you wanted your person to be known to the league that he's available like that. But
right.
What if I don't know. It'd be cool if we had some sort of rumor mill that somebody ran that just like could throw this out. So with like, I'd say like 60% real things and then 40% fake things, and super.
Our own little scenario engine.
Yeah, we need a scenario engine. That's
I can bring back the tweets from NSL Jay Glazer. I've still got that Twitter profile.
I think that would help make the league more like real life, because granted, I don't follow NFL as much as I used to because I watch college ball more, but I do notice a lot like, oh, Chicago Bears put Khalil Mack on the trade board kind of thing.
Figured out. Like I said, not something we're done yet. It's just something we're thinking about. Rabbit, what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be cool. And, Berkey, in your case, where you said you'd rather trade with that person that initially started it, unless somebody came with something crazy. Well, if you got that offer and you're like, okay, well, we got to wait 24 hours. I got to put his name out there. You would never get that crazy offer if we weren't actually advertising it. So, and it's not like you know, you're going to have to do that before you even think about trading them. It's if somebody gives you that offer, then you just throw.
But then if there's an offer I already like, and then I got to put it out there for 24 hours, and I'm like, yeah, man, I really liked your offer, but then someone comes with something crazy, then it's like, well, I'm kind of like, am I a jerk, or am I just like, well, it is what it is. But it is
Don't
what
hate
it
the
is,
player.
right? That wouldn't have happened if.
I think the thought process there is that you would have to let them know, like, hey, I like your offer. Nobody comes with something better in 24 hours. It's yours. But, if you guys ever traded with BM, that's essentially what you have to do with BM, because you'll have to. BM is a very long-winded trade partner, and you have to be like, all right, I've tried to trade for Gronk at least like 5 times from him, and I've only got him once, and it's like, all right, this is my offer, BM. And then he'll go get 4 other offers, and then he'll come back to you, and it's like, oh my God, BM, just fucking whatever. You know what? Here's my final offer. Um, in a way, BM is probably the most realistic trade partner you get, because it's very aggravating trading with him. So,
A negative of it, you would have potentially some asses that would come back to you and say, hey, well, somebody offered me X, Y, and Z. What are you going to throw in when maybe they really didn't? There's that. There's that too. But that's going to happen potentially anyway. But
we'll discuss it a little bit more. We got about a week before the season starts. We still have some things to learn. Now, like I said, we got the draft done. We've got, I think the sliders is something I need to tune, but we're going to be on All Madden. We're going to be 9 minutes. We got all the teams set. We got 7 people on the waiting list in ASL. As far as I know, NSL is everybody. I've talked to everybody. They say I'm all in. I still think there's one guy who hasn't bought the game, so we'll see how that goes. We might have to call up. But other than that, Taylor, you have done extensive testing. What are your thoughts on 20's franchise mode here? Not necessarily just building. You think the draft is acceptable? What are your thoughts on it? Taylor gone.
He's asleep.
89. You did the same thing. Go ahead and answer the question.
Quality of the draft classes?
Well, I just said everything. Quality of the draft classes, boosting people, XPs, all that.
I mean, it's just I think the expectations are a lot different than how past cycles have been. Like, I've noticed physicals are generally better. Like, you don't get a bunch of zone corners that are 91 speed and 82 excel.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually decent running backs, some that are power and some that are receiving backs that are either high 80s with 90 excel. Like, it's just better than it's been in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
But I've noticed, like, just kind of simming through drafts, I've seen 63 overall guys go number 6 overall in the draft. And that's kind of what I was saying in the ASL chat was, if you kept that fog over everyone's ratings, you're going to have people that are just reaching for raw talents and not doing their due diligence in scouting, which is kind of same as y'all were talking with trades, part of the skill in building a team.
You can't really scout for those things anyways, unless you do those stupid stories, which are dead giveaways. So,
well, not even the stories, but just like the understanding. I can't remember who was talking in chat today that they're still thinking of the draft class attributes being the same as 18 and 19, where it's like it was an A+ rating, but the attribute was in the 70s. Well, it was a really weak class. That's why it was an A+, but that was the best guy of a bad class.
Did they change it like that? I'm unaware of that change.
So, like, you might have a quarterback that has A+ throw power, but his throw power rating's 88. And that's just because he's the best in the class. So it's changed a lot in that regard. But lower overall guys also gain attributes faster than they did last Madden.
That's a weird way to do it, because you're going to know A+ throw power if you're a scout. Like, you're not going to, like, well, he's the best in the class. He's an A+. Like, That's not how it works. You're still going to be like, no, he's Case Keenum throw power. What are you talking about? No, he's not that's a weird way to do it. Interesting. But
They scale it the same way that they did every other year. So it's still the 3 or 4 increment down. So basically everybody's going to have at least A- throw power.
Chris, who are you, man? I don't even know, man. Sorry.
Cripps. Sorry, I just hopped in here. I was working on my draft class stuff.
All right. Well, you're the Patriots, right?
In ASL, I'm the Bills.
Bills. Okay, sorry. Get you back. What's your strategy for drafting here? You seem like you were in. Do you run another league, or you just in another league? I can't remember.
I am a commission too. I'm a commission with Corey in one, and then I commission another one that I'm making the draft classes for.
Okay.
In that league,
that's right.
So
yeah, that's right. Okay.
that would be me. Yes, that would be me to put a face to a very nondescript name.
I remember we've been talking about draft classes. You're building the 2019 ones for your other league, so that's going to be interesting. Let's go over that. How many? What is your rating spread going to be? I did the count. It's between 30 and 35, 70 to 80 overall players. Is that what you're going with?
So basically what I went through and did to pull up my spreadsheet on my computer real quick was I went through 5 just to start with because it takes so long to go through some of them, especially for development trait rates. But I went through 5 and basically mapped every overall at every position through 5 classes. So all 450 players for 5 classes.
Jeez.
And it's about, which is why I did 5 instead of 10 because, well, 10 was just a lot considering that I'm going to college. It's enough of a pastime to do 5.
Yeah.
But
give us some information.
Yeah, so you're not wrong. It's about 30 to 35. It's about 30 to 35 that are going to be above 70. You'll have years where you're typically quarterbacks. You're not going to get above 75. 75 is the creme de la creme for the most part of quarterbacks.
I did 3 drafts myself, and 2 of them had no quarterback above 70. There were 69 and like 88 throw power, and then I had one where there were 75, 71, and 70. So it seems like quarterbacks are hit and miss very heavy in these.
Yeah, so for example, Corey, you're going to have to just kind of put your blinders on real quick because you're in the league.
Yeah, you guys hide your draft too, don't you?
We do. So Corey's going to have to put his blinders on. I know he's not looking for a quarterback anyways, so I'm kind of safe to say this. So Jake Fromm, 65 overall, like, kind of that's kind of, you're going to have typically 2 or 3 or 4 first round quarterbacks, maybe 1, maybe 2, Herbert and Tua are both above 70, but neither one of them's above a 70. I think Herbert's a 73, Tua's a 71 or a 72. There aren't going to be that's a good quarterback. You draft someone above a 70, you draft someone above a 68, you can turn that into a viable starter.
Yeah.
But, the dev rates are a little different. Receivers run high, so do running backs. So
how many X factors have you seen per draft? I didn't see any in a few.
I've only seen them at a few positions. But they're not very common. You have maybe 1 on average every, I would say 2 out of every 3 classes. Because it's not one of every 2, and sometimes you'll have 2 in 1.
Mm-hmm.
But I think 2 out of every 3 on average is probably a good estimation.
So it sounds like Madden did a much better job at creating these draft classes where they're not super overpowered and the X factors are just very unique.
Yeah, and I would say too, for granted, we're doing the customs for the realism aspect and everything. The physicals aren't nearly as bad as they've been in years past. It's not the crazy disparity of the 83 speed power back won the Heisman as the first projected pick.
Yeah.
It's if that were the case, power back he might have 90 speed with 88 excel.
Mm-hmm.
They did a better job with the physicals this year that they've done in years past. And I think part of that also is credited to the fact that they finally did their idea of physical ratings on the original draft class. You know, DK Metcalf having 79 agility, when in years past, DK Metcalf would have still had 85, 86 agility.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Sounds like our information's pretty close. So it sounds like you're just a lot more detailed than I am. It's going to be interesting
but no, to real quick, yeah, there was 180 overall player in the 5 drafts I did.
Wow.
One other one that was a 79. Total of 5 that were above a 7, that were 78 or higher. 77, you saw a little more. There were 10 in the first round alone and over the 5. So, but yeah, they really kind of nuked the overall spread of everything.
All right, let me ask you this: since you seem to be studying these guys a little bit, if you had to give one player over an 80 in the next 2 drafts, who would it be?
Over an 80?
80, just say 80. Would you give anybody?
I don't know if I would, because the best player, if you're looking at regardless of anything, would probably be Trevor Lawrence in the next 2 classes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's going to get there though, because quarterbacks aren't that high, don't run high. If quarterbacks ran high, he'd get there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the highest overall we have right now is like a 77. And for the sake of who Corey might be looking at, I'm going to leave that nameless.
That's fine. Yeah.
But I would say I don't think anybody will. I think there might be a 77 or a 78. You know, Nick Young's probably going to be pretty good.
Okay.
But I haven't gotten to edge rushers, so I can say that vaguely because I haven't finalized looking into all of that yet. But
okay, fair enough. Josh, welcome, buddy.
What's up, dude?
We got so many people in the chat right now. I think, see, that's the problem. Like some weeks I can't get any, and then this week I get 11, and none of you are getting FaceTime. I pretty much went over everything I had to go over. Next week is going to be Commissioner Podcast. So if you are a commissioner or help commission, I really would like you guys on. So Rabbit, if you can make it. Coach, I know you did some ASL leagues, if I'm not, or not ASL. I know you've done some NBA 2K leagues, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so people like you, Cripps here, he's a co-commish, 89. So anybody with experience, I would really appreciate y'all coming up next week. We're going to talk about the pros and cons of commissioning, what are some of the aggravations we go over, stuff like that. What's it take to run a good league? So before we go, I know I kind of feel like we went off the rails here. There were a lot of people on here. Wasn't prepared for this. But is there anything anybody wants to give for creating your team the correct way? We already went over some mistakes people make overpaying, but is there anything anybody wants to say about creating a team they've been wanting to get off their chest? No? All right. Cripps, before we go, would you recommend using the draft as a strategy to build your team this year?
yes, and I
Not just in your league, but any league.
In any league, I think there's a lot of value to it because I think everybody has to kind of adjust their frame of mind when it comes to trading away veterans for draft picks, because trading away that 85 overall, especially if you're in a win now mode, because trading away that 85 overall veteran has a lot more value to it than it did in years past when you're probably going to get a 70 overall starter at best if it's a first round pick. But people kind of just have to shift their perspective a little bit because those guys are also going to develop quicker. So, you know, there's still value to building through the draft if you're rebuilding, but it's going to be a lot harder, I think, to remain competitive if you trade away a lot of your top end talent and just expect to be able to have rookies come in right away and take over.
Those people in years past that would trade away all the top end talent, everybody above 80, and just get draft picks, and then you don't think it's viable now strategy?
I think you have to be a very good user to be able to do it. You know, you're users that can take the Dolphins and can beat the brakes off of somebody with the Patriots. maybe they're of that level, but then again, you've got the Dolphins. You don't really have assets that you're going to be trading away for draft picks. So, but it's just kind of there's more of a give and take there than there has been in years past, where you can make up that replacement because rookies are such high overalls coming in.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's about it. Sorry, this got too long. I think next week we're gonna try and limit it to 5 people. So if you want in, anybody in this podcast, let me know you're gonna be in next week, and we could 5 people if you want to be in. Yeah. Like that. And it sounds like is that you? Are you?
Nah, I'm on mute.
Oh, who is that? All right, guys. That's about it. I do not know how to stop recording either. So I guess I'm just going to hang up. I'll see you guys later.